Hello everyone and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe. Today I'll be going over every hero's skill upgrades and what the best upgrades are for those heroes. So basically, if you are using these heroes, what are the best skills to upgrade for them are. If this helps you and you do enjoy, then please like the video and subscribe. It does help me out a lot, and I've also got more content coming soon. So yeah, it'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I would like to say I've had a few technical difficulties, so this is like my third or fourth time trying to record this. I'm not sure why there have been difficulties. I'm trying to figure it out, but apologies in the delay of the upload. And I just also want to say thank you so much for all the support in the previous videos, and welcome to all the new subscribers to the channel. So yeah, it's been great, and thank you so much. But yeah, skill upgrades. What are skill upgrades? Well, in the game, obviously with your characters, you have different skills, and you can, as you see here, level those skills up. Now, elite heroes have 4 skills, rare heroes have 3. In this video, I'm mostly just going to be covering the elite heroes, because the rare heroes, because they only have 3 and lower base stats, they're not as good, and probably most people don't use them in their teams. So I'm just going to cover the elite heroes in this. So how do you upgrade these skills? Firstly, we'll have a look at that. So to upgrade the skills, you do need 2 forms of currency. Just like leveling up your heroes, a blue and a pink, and the blue one is called the molecular enhancements, and the pink one is the special molecular enhancements. To get these, you can get them from, for example, the equipment shop, or from Cecil's Nightmares, as we can see here, or even from the GDA op Well Done. Now, how many of these do you need? When we look at a hero, we can see that obviously they do need the normal molecular enhancements, and then every 3 levels you need the pink special molecular enhancements. So basically, yeah, every 3 levels, so 3, 6, and then 9 to get it up to level 10. The maximum level as of right now for hero abilities is level 10. So yeah, that's how you upgrade them, and without further ado, I'll get into it. Now, there's obviously quite a few heroes in this game, so I probably won't get through all of them today. I might have to do a part 2, potentially a part 3. As of right now, Shapesmith is the latest hero. He just launched, his event is still running. So yeah, I'll basically be going through them in order, and obviously if some heroes that you are using currently aren't in this video, then they'll be in the next video or the one after that. But yeah, I'll go quite quickly because it's obviously about a few heroes and it can take some time to go over this. So yeah, let me just have a look at that just now. Invincible. So yeah, Invincible is the first hero that I'm going to look at today. He is a very good hero. He's in pretty much most people's teams, and he has very good abilities because of this. So his first ability, he flies quickly between three times from one enemy to the other, dealing damage as he goes. Second ability, when fighting with a last line of defense ally, the team's ability cooldown is reduced by 5%. When his HP reaches 20%, he is immune to all damage for 5 seconds. And his fourth ability, triggered at the beginning of every battle, when once every 25 seconds, he increases his attack and attacks the enemy with the highest attack power. So, if we have a look here at what these look like leveled up. If you're using Invincible, which most people are, I personally would say that his first and third ability are his most powerful. Probably if you want him to deal more damage, then the first ability is best, or the third ability helps him survive longer. I'd recommend doing both, but obviously up to you. With the first ability, upgrading the ability from level 1 to 10 means that instead of flying 3 times from an enemy between enemies and doing 180 damage, 180%, he goes 5 times, so 2 extra hits, does more damage at 195%, and also gains a lifesteal, I believe, at level 5 or 6. Level 6, yeah. So even if you get it to at least level 6, you get the lifesteal, which is nice. But basically, this means that when he flies between enemies, if there obviously are all 5 enemies on the enemy team, then he flies between each of them, damaging them, stunning them, and taking some lifesteal as well at the same time. This is very good. It doesn't deal the most amount of damage, but definitely helps disrupt the enemy, and also Invincible can't be attacked whilst he's doing it, so it helps keep him alive and takes him away from the fight for a few seconds. So if you are using him, definitely get this leveled up, probably to level 10, maybe 6 as a minimum, but that is definitely an ability you definitely want to upgrade for Invincible. Next is probably the third ability, because this actually extends how long he is immune for. It goes from 5 seconds to 7 seconds at level 10. That extra 2 seconds can make a huge difference in a fight, and help keep him alive longer, and it also gives him an energy attack boost as well once you level this up, which is alright, but the main thing is the time on how long he is immune for. So those are definitely the two you want to prioritize with Invincible, in my opinion. Then it's really up to you if you do want to do the second or fourth ability. The second one is good because if you are using a last line of defense ally, then level 10 gives you 10% instead of 5%, so it doubles it on the team's ability cooldown reduction. So this is a good one. Obviously, you do need a last line of defense ally. So, for example, Atom Eve. As long as you have that, then this is actually a good one to increase. The next one is all right. Upgrading it, increases the amount of attack damage he does and how often he can do it. It's not the most powerful, so if the enemies are quite weak, it can make quite a big difference. But if they're quite bulky, then it doesn't do too much, in my opinion. I think Invincible for me is more about a DPS that can deal good damage but survive longer, rather than someone who deals a huge amount of damage. He's more of like a sort of mini tank in a way with his immunity. So yeah, that's Invincible, and that's what I'd say his upgrades should be. Atom Eve is a very interesting one, because with her abilities, upgrading them takes her from an alright hero to probably one of the best in the game. Her first ability, she casts a shield on one ally. Second ability, whilst fighting with a member of team, the shield she casts bounces back enemy damage. Basically, her first three abilities focus around her shielding, and her fourth ability is a little bit different, but basically her main thing is her shield. So if you are fighting with a member of team on your ally, a team ally on your team, for example robot, then this is triggered. If not, and you're not using a robot, or for example Rexplode or Duplicate, then don't worry about leveling this one up. But if you are using robot, it can be good, and I'll get into the details for that in a second. Third ability basically increases the actual shield value, and also makes it so that the shield heals the ally as well. Fourth ability, she throws out one projectile at level 1. If it hits an enemy, it deals damage. If it hits an ally, it deals healing. So quite simple there. But if we have a look at the level ups, I should have one without any skill upgrades down here. Appears not. I'll just have to go with when I'm using my team. As we can see, first and third ability definitely are priority because they work perfectly together. Upgrading the first ability means that instead of shielding one ally, she always shields herself. So first level 1 shields one ally and herself. Upgrading it to level 10 means she shields 4 allies, which is the entire rest of the team. So this goes from one ally to the entire team receiving a shield, which is absolutely night and day difference. So if you are using Atom Eve, definitely level up this, because it means she can do an entire team shield. And upgrading the third ability means that it actually is a much more powerful shield and does even more healing when the person is shielded. So upgrading first and third dramatically makes Atom Eve much better. And if you are using her in a team, because she is one of the best heroes in the game, then definitely do these two first. After that, it's up to you. If you're using a team member like Robot, then upgrading this does obviously help bounce back some damage to the enemies. It doesn't make the biggest difference, but is alright. I would definitely say the fourth ability is the next priority, because instead of throwing one projectile at level 1, at level 10 it's 5. So again, way more projectiles being thrown out, and increases obviously the damage and healing with the targets it hits. So because it goes from 1 to 5, some of them are pretty much guaranteed to hit your allies, which then obviously heals them even further. So definitely Atom Eve. If you have, for example, a robot, then just honestly get all of them to level 10. As you can see, I've got 10, 9, 10. This one I also want to get to level 10. So she is definitely worth upgrading. But you definitely, if you are starting out or using her without robot, then first and third and fourth are your priorities with Atom Eve. Next up, we have Omniman. Omniman is a very good DPS. He has quite high stats as well, so he can survive for a bit longer because he has more HP. His first attack, he basically deals damage in like a straightforward line. He breaks the ground and does like a sort of earth shatter. And he also, with this, deals damage and decreases the defense of all the hit enemies as well. Second ability, he gains a life leech when fighting against humans. This is very useful because a lot of enemies in the game are humans. For example, Invincible, Adam Eve, Immortal, etc. So a lot of the main ones a lot of the main heroes that you see in teams are humans, so that would obviously apply here. Third ability is probably the most interesting. After performing 4 critical hits, the critical chance of the next hit is 100%. So basically, after 4 critical hits, he does another critical hit, guaranteed, which deals more critical hit damage than usual. And his fourth ability, Gut Punch, means he does a punch that deals a large amount of damage to the enemy. If at level 1 their HP is less than 10%, then it immediately kills them. If their HP is higher than 10% and they don't immediately die, then it deals a large amount of damage. They are pushed back, and he also increases his attack damage after doing this punch. So if we go and have a look here, let me see if there's one without it being leveled up. Maybe it makes it a bit easier. Don't have one down here. No, just my leveled up one. Perfect. So leveling up the first ability is good. I would definitely say the priority, if you are using Omniman, is his third ability, because it goes from 4 critical hits to 3, and it also goes from 150%, so basically an extra 50% damage, to 250. So compared to normal, that's 150% extra critical damage with the hit. So you can crit damage. You can do this. You can basically trigger this more often by doing less crits, and the crit does more damage. And also, it at level 6, I think, it doing this critical hit damage means that he reduces his main ability cooldown by 15%, which obviously, if we level up here, does more damage and applies more lower defense debuff on the enemies. So upgrading the third and the first is probably the priority, because they work together and means that he can deal a huge amount more damage. Next up is the life leech. I mean, this one, it doesn't make the biggest difference. You probably need to get it to like level 9 or 10 to make a big difference. It's 1% per level, which isn't the most. Life leech in this game is kind of useful, but it's not as useful as sort of big chunks of healing, because often at higher levels the enemies can deal huge amounts of damage, and this doesn't really mitigate that in any way. So it's up to you. If you do want to upgrade it, definitely take it all the way, but if not, then leaving it at level 1 isn't too bad. And then the fourth ability is good to upgrade, because it takes the HP threshold from 10% to 20%. So if he does this ability and they are 20% HP or lower, then he instantly kills them, which is quite a good threshold, especially, for example, with heroes like Alan, because Alan requires to go down to 1 HP to then trigger his healing, and if he is below 20, this would immediately kill him and not allow him to take that healing, for example. Obviously, deals more damage and increases his damage once he has done this. So if you are using Omniman, third and first ability, then the fourth, and then the second would be probably my priority list there. So next up we have Robot. Now Robot is probably the main healing character as of right now in the game. We have just had Shapesmith be released, but Robot is definitely probably still the main healing character in the game. So we have a look at his abilities. They're mostly centered around his healing and disruption to the enemy. So his first ability, he basically heals all the allies on the team by 10%, and applies a debuff on all enemies, reducing their defense by 5%. This has a cooldown of 25 seconds, which is quite a long cooldown. The second ability, when fighting against Married to the Mob, Robot increases the team healing's effects by 10%. The third ability, every 15 seconds he creates a healing area around him and heals a maximum of 15% of his max HP for 5 seconds. And then his last ability, he fires a couple of rockets that stun the enemy, dealing damage over 5 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 20 seconds. So if we have a look at how these are when they are upgraded, there's a robot. If you are using robot on your team, and most people, quite a lot of people actually are using him because he is a very good healer, then as I mentioned before, his main thing is his healing. So if you are using robot, 100% without a shadow of doubt, the best ability to upgrade is his first ability, because that is where he does the massive team-wide healing. So upgrading it from 1 to 10, it goes from 10% healing to 15%, and the debuff goes up to 15% as well, and also silences them at level 10 for 3 seconds. This is acquired at level 6 for 2 seconds. So if you get it to 10, if you are using robot, then level this ability up to level 10 before any of the others, definitely, because it basically just is the main reason why he's on the team, is to provide that team-wide healing. After this ability, if you do want to take him further, I personally went for the 4th ability with the stun. So this, the damage over time isn't crazy because he is a support hero. It's more for the stun, and upgrading up to level 10 means it goes from 1 second to 3 second stun, and has a lower cooldown, 20 seconds. I believe is it the same? Oh no, same cooldown, 20 seconds, but the stun going up to 3 seconds can help massively throughout the game. The damage is pretty okay, but it's more about the stun, so this is a useful one to have. Maybe not the most game-changing, but definitely an improvement to his kit. And then his 3rd ability is quite interesting, because the healing area is quite useful, because it obviously heals robot, but it also heals any allies in the area as well. So if the fight is happening around robot, then it can heal them. So there's a few things with this, because it is obviously good for this reason, but also you don't really want your robot in the middle of the team, because you want him to be far away, because he's a ranged hero. And secondly, if robot or his team members get pushed or punched or taken out of the ring is obviously stationary on the floor, and so robot can even sometimes walk out of the ring if the fight changes location. So obviously upgrading this means that it just does more healing, but it's a sort of hit and miss ability, because it can help obviously heal robot back up or any allies, but it can also, he can get knocked out of it or even just walk out of it. So yeah, it's a bit of a hit and miss. It can be useful, and if you are wanting robot to be really a really strong support on your team, maybe he's the only support in your team, then this isn't a bad ability to upgrade, and can be very good. Obviously, just keep in mind that it's not perfect. The second ability for me isn't really a priority, because married to the mob, yes, the healing effects can be massively increased, but married to the mob, if we have a look at the tags, where is it? Tags here. Married to the mob. The only notable one is probably Battle Beast and Titan. The rest are rare heroes. Yeah, rare heroes. So obviously, if you're fighting against Battle Beast or Titan, there are quite a few teams, especially like in Arena, that are using these, but it's not as common as maybe some Viltrumites or, for example, Universa. So up to you on that one. Robot is definitely a very good healer, so if you are using him, then those are probably the best abilities to upgrade for him. Next up, we've got Monster Girl. Now, Monster Girl is very interesting. She's a tank, defender, and she's more of like a bruiser defender, where she is a defender, but she specializes in actually dealing out a bit of extra damage rather than receiving and absorbing that amount of damage. So her first ability, she stomps the ground, dealing damage, and pushes the enemy back and stuns them. She also gets a bit of life leech from this. Second ability, she increases the defense of Guardians of the Globe allies by 5.5% of her HP. Third ability, she gets a permanent attack boost of 10% of her HP, very simple. And then fourth ability, she dispels enemy shields with her basic attacks. Instead of receiving shields, she receives a healing effect equal to 65% of her shield value. So we have a look at Monster Girl here, her skill upgrades. If you are using Monster Girl, then I mean, personally, I think she's a pretty good hero. Maybe there's better defenders, but she can be useful. If you are using her, then let's see here. What do we think? I think that probably if you're using her in a full like GDA team, then the second ability can be a big change because it goes from 5.5% to 10%. And if obviously you've got a lot of Guardians of the Globe allies, then 10% of her HP, because she's a defender, is quite a notable buff. So if you are using a full GDA team or a lot, like maybe 3 or 4 GDA heroes, then this is a good one to upgrade. But obviously if you're not using too many GDA heroes or no GDA allies, then this one doesn't really make a big difference. In that case, then I would probably say the fourth ability, because it's obviously very good just by the nature. Any enemy shields she'll just punch through immediately, but instead of receiving shields, she receives a healing. But if you get this obviously leveled up, it goes from 65% up to 110, which is quite a big difference. And it means that anytime she gets shielded, if you're using a team that has shields, so for example Atom Eve, then it massively increases this. If you're not using teammates that use shields, then this doesn't really help you. Obviously Monster Girl is quite situational depending on her teammates, because obviously with the second ability it's GDA allies, and with the fourth ability it's anyone who can provide shields. So it obviously does depend in that sense. So if you're not using either of those, then maybe she's not the best fit for your team, or obviously you do need to incorporate them into your team. But the first ability can be alright, the damage is alright, and the life leech is okay because it means it can heal her up a little bit. The third ability, upgrading her attack, getting this leveled up only takes up to 15%, which is quite it's 50% more than the original 10%. So this can be good if you do want her to deal more damage. If you're, obviously depends on your team, but if you are using her as a sort of solo tank rather than based on what her teammates are, then actually maybe upgrading the third ability makes the most sense. The first ability you can probably not upgrade that much, because the only real good thing about it is the life leech, and that doesn't really make a huge difference. So if you are using Monster Girl, I'd probably say the third ability, unless you have a team centered around the second and fourth abilities. Next up is Shrinking Ray. Now Shrinking Ray is a very interesting one because she is an attacker, but she's more of like a disruptive attacker. First ability, she removes behind the furthest target from herself and attacks them and pushes them back to where she previously was and decreases their defense. Second ability, she increases human allies' defense 5% for each attacker in the enemy team. And third ability, she's immune to stun or silenced effects, and with a cooldown of 8 seconds, if an enemy tries to apply one of these on her, she moves to the next available enemy, stuns them, and deals damage to them. And then her fourth ability, after returning to her normal size, so obviously with her first and third abilities, she shrinks down and does the ability. With the fourth ability, it means basically after completing either of those, she receives a critical hit chance increase and an attack increase, which is very useful. So if we have a look at how these look to be leveled up, then if you are using Shrinking Ray on your team, I would probably say that let's see here, I would probably say that the fourth ability and fifth ability are probably the main ones you want to upgrade. The fourth ability obviously makes it so that it has a lower cooldown, so instead of 8 seconds it's 5 seconds, and because stuns and silences are very useful in this game and quite a lot of high powered enemies will often be applying these, it means you can do this quite often. And this stun goes up to a 3-second stun, and obviously deals more damage. So I would probably say if you are using Shrinking Ray, the third ability is your priority, and then if you upgrade the fourth ability, because that means that every time she does her first and third, and if we upgrade the third with a lower cooldown, she's doing them more often, then 50% critical chance increase and 50% attack increase is a huge bonus. even just the fourth ability on its own is probably worth leveling up, but if you pair it with definitely the third and also potentially the first doesn't really improve the cooldown or anything like that, so probably just the third and fourth. If you upgrade both of those, it massively increases her kit. Now her second one is quite interesting because obviously if you level this up, defense 15% for each attacker in the enemy team is quite a big increase, and there is often at least more than one attacker on the enemy team. So obviously it depends on the enemy team, so you can't really guarantee what you're going to be facing, but if you do level this up, it definitely will help the entire team out, and it can be quite useful because it's only based on attackers, not any faction or anything like that. So it will probably happen at there'll be an attacker pretty much guaranteed every game. So this is also a good one to level up if you do want to power up Shrinking Ray. Next hero is Bulletproof. Now Bulletproof again, GDA faction, attacker again. He does a bit more damage than Shrinking Ray, but maybe not so much in the disruption department. So his first ability, to be fair, is more of a disruptive ability where he pushes the enemy in front of him 3 times, follows them and deals 370% damage. His second ability, if there's any human on the team, Bulletproof decreases the damage received by ranged enemies by 5%. And the third ability, after performing 7 critical strikes, increases his attack stat and becomes immune. And his fourth ability, he's immune to push and pull effects. So like Shrinking Ray is immune to stun and silence, Bulletproof is immune to push and pull, and he increases his critical hit chance by 50% for 3 seconds when an enemy tries to apply these effects on him. Just very similar to Shrinking Ray. So if you have a look at the skills here, if you are using Bulletproof in your team, I would probably say, this is a very good ability here, the third one, but upgrading it only really increases his attack stat. It doesn't increase how long he's immune for or how many critical strikes he has to do. So this maybe doesn't make the biggest difference upgraded. This one can be quite good. Push and pull aren't too common in the game. I would probably say the first ability is the best one to upgrade because it means that he deals more damage and he also increases his critical chance. So that is also added into there. So if you are using Bulletproof, I'd probably give the first ability priority. The second one is very interesting because the wording is a bit weird. If there's any human on the team, it doesn't specify which team, Bulletproof decreases the damage received by ranged enemies. Now this makes me think that if there's a human on the team, it makes me think of the enemy team because it's about the enemy ranged enemies. It doesn't make it clear. It could be your team, it could be the enemies, but humans are pretty common in the game. The human faction, human tag, sorry, and increasing this ability means that the damage from ranged enemies is decreased by 15%. Now ranged enemies, there's usually more melee enemies than ranged enemies in my opinion, but the ranged enemies, for example Universa and Atom Eve and Robot, are very common, so this isn't a bad one to upgrade if you are using him. Third one is good if you just want him to deal more damage, and the last one obviously is quite useful, but maybe not the biggest change for Bulletproof. Next up is the Immortal. Now the Immortal is a very good defender in the game. He isn't as beefy as Alan, but he maybe has a better survivability because of his immunity ability, which I'll get to in just a second. So his first ability, he flies upwards, comes back down, smashing the ground and dealing 450% of his base damage, pushing the enemies outway from where he lands and stunning them as well. Second ability, he reduces the damage received from the Viltrumite by 5% for his team. And the third ability, when his HP reaches 9%, he becomes immune for 5 seconds. So very much like when with the Invincible ability, when he reaches 20%, this is when the Immortal reaches 9%. And the fourth ability, when any ally gets healed, the Immortal receives 5% of the healing effect. The ability has a cooldown of 5 seconds. This is a very good one, and I'll obviously get into that just now. So if we have a look at Immortal, have any just down here. Hello, there we go. Because I've upgraded the skills in my mortal in my team. So yeah, if you are using a mortal, I would probably say the best ability to upgrade is the first and the fourth one. Fourth one is very, very good because if you get this to level 10, it means that any ally gets healed on the team. So if you're using healers on your team, obviously this is useful. If you're not using healers like Atom Eve or Robot or even Shapesmith, then this doesn't really make a big difference. But if you are using those allies, which for example Immortal pairs very well with Robot, then upgrading this up to level 10 means that anytime an ally gets healed, for example if Robot does a full team heal, he receives 10% of the healing effect. And if you get it to level 10, it means the ability is always active, so there's no cooldown. So if Robot or Atom Eve do a full team heal, then it means that he receives 10% from each of the allies healing, if that makes sense. And this basically helps keep him alive and gives him way more healing when the team is healed. If you're not using healers, then it doesn't make a big difference. But yeah, otherwise his first ability is very good. If you upgrade this, obviously he deals more base damage, which is pretty strong to be fair, but the stun goes up to 3 seconds, and because it's an AoE, because it hits multiple enemies, obviously if he's in the middle of the team fight, he can basically stun up most of the enemy team for 3 seconds. And it also, if you level this up, it reduces the affected enemy's energy defense by 15% for 5 seconds. Now this is very good. Upgrading as well decreases the cooldown from 19 seconds to 17 seconds, which means you can do it more often. And this ability is very key because it takes him out of the fight and then stuns and displaces the enemies so that they don't immediately start attacking him again. So this helps him keep alive for way longer and obviously helps disrupt the enemy team. But it pairs very well with the third ability, because it often is the case if you can keep your Immortal alive for the first 17 seconds until he gets that first ability. With this, obviously, once he reaches 9%, it becomes immune for 5 seconds. If you pair him, for example, with a Bergamot Burger, it means that he can not die straight away, fly up in the air, come back down, displace all the enemies, and then by the time they start attacking him again, his cooldown on his first ability should be back up, and he can do the same again. So it is very useful because he can kind of go down in health, get immune, fly away, come back down, they attack him again, he becomes immune again, flies away. So he can basically almost never die if it's timed correctly, if the enemies aren't too strong, and if you obviously power him up. His second ability is very interesting because it didn't used to be too prevalent because there weren't too many Viltrumites in the game, but because there's quite a few Viltrumites in the game now, and obviously as we know they are very strong, upgrading this reduces the damage by 35% of Viltrumites for his team is actually a very, very good ability now, because originally it was mostly just Omniman and Invincible, which are both very good heroes, but because there's so many more Viltrumites, if you are using Immortal on your team, this also is a very good ability to upgrade. So you could probably upgrade definitely 1 and 4, and definitely level the number 2. The third ability is a bit interesting because it doesn't increase his immunity time, unlike Invincible, for when you upgrade it. It gives him an attack, energy attack boost, but it's, to be honest, it doesn't make that big of a difference in my opinion. You get the energy attack boost at level 2, so even if you just get it to level 2 and just get that 27% energy attack boost, then I would probably leave it there. But it's up to you. If you want to upgrade it, obviously you can, but that would be my recommendation for Immortal. We probably have time for 1 or 2 more heroes. Don't want this to be too long of a video, but obviously there's loads of heroes. I definitely won't be able to get all of them done today, but so I'll probably need to do a part 2, maybe part 3. But we'll have a look at Warwoman just now. Warwoman is very interesting. Again, she's an attacker. She's probably, in my opinion, one of the weaker attackers in the game. They did, in a patch a few months ago, buff her. So she is looking a bit better since then. So we'll have a look at her abilities just now. Warwickane is her first ability, which means she targets a random enemy and spins towards them, dealing 300% damage over 2 seconds, so very similar to Bulletproof's. She increases her team's attack by 2% for each original Guardian of the Globe present in their team. And the third ability, she receives a critical. When she receives a critical hit, she gains a life leech and attack damage boost for 3 seconds. This doesn't say it has a cooldown. It also just tells you how long you get the attack boost for and the life leech. So this is interesting because it seems to be triggered every time she receives a critical hit, which is interesting. The fourth ability, the last hit of Warwoman's Warwoman, which obviously is the first ability, stuns all surrounding enemies for 1 second and deals damage. Now, if we look at these upgraded, where is she? There she is. Then we can see that if we are upgrading her abilities, I would probably say this third ability is very, very strong because it doesn't have a cooldown on the critical hits from what I believe, or at least obviously it could be triggered again after the 5 seconds of the bonus. So this is a very strong one for her, I would say, because 30% life leech and 30% attack damage boost is very, very strong actually. So if you upgrade this to level 10, massively increases obviously her survivability and her damage. Then I would probably say that the first ability, upgrading it, does massively increase it because it goes from 300% damage all the way up to 950, which is huge, and it also goes up to 5 seconds and a defense reduction of 30% for 5 seconds. So this is actually a very strong ability. Warwoman definitely is slept on. I think that obviously she definitely wasn't very good when the game launched, and I think they buffed all of her abilities here, and as we can see, they are actually very, very strong. So if you are using Warwoman, one of the only players in the game that are, then the first ability, upgrading it massively improves it. The third ability obviously means that during the fight, without any abilities, she is better. And then her fourth ability, if you upgrade the first and the fourth, they obviously work very well together and stuns all surrounding enemies. So it's like an AoE for 3 seconds and dealing damage. In addition, it removes any immunity effects from the enemy's hit. This is also incredibly powerful. So Warwoman actually is probably one of the strongest attackers in the game, but maybe no one realizes it. But if you are using her, then definitely first, third, and fourth abilities. Now the second one is interesting because 2% isn't that, 2% isn't that big. 7% is quite a good increase. So at level 10, obviously it is only for original Guardians of the Globe present in the team, which if we have a look at the tags, obviously is Immortal, Red Rush, Green Ghost, Warwoman, etc. And because it's based on the attack, you can probably skip out on this one, even if you want to upgrade. You are using a full original Guardians of the Globe team. Then because it is attack on those heroes, and most of them are tanks or defense, then I would probably say ignore this ability, just completely ignore it. But the first, third, and fourth are very, very strong. We'll do Red Rush and then we'll leave it. Red Rush is support. Now he is actually, especially recently, been very, very popular and is very, very powerful. He doesn't do a lot of healing, but he does a lot of disruption, and he helps your attackers actually deal more damage. So I'll explain this. So first ability, he blocks and surrounds his target by running super fast around them, dealing 200% base damage for 2.5 seconds. The target is then silenced for 3 seconds. So he runs around them, they can't do anything, they're basically just stuck, and he does damage to them, basically takes them out of the fight, and obviously then silences them. His second ability, he increases his team's critical damage by 10% when fighting against attackers. So that is going to be pretty much every single game because there's usually at least one attacker on the enemy team. Third ability, once every 15 seconds, he swaps his position with the furthest enemy, stunning them for 3 seconds and reducing their physical resistance by 90% for 3 seconds. And then the fourth ability, when an ally is below 25 HP, he grants them invincibility status for 3 seconds. So he doesn't do any healing, but he does, for example, do the invincibility status. Now, we have a look at these skills. What skills would you want to use level up if you are using Red Rush? I would probably say it depends on your team, because obviously this ability here upgrading this means that he can definitely lean more into the support category, because it goes from 30-second cooldown, which is very long, to a 25%, and means that he can trigger it more often when an ally is below 30% HP. Invincibility for 5 seconds is a long time, so this is definitely a big help, and it also gives them critical chance increase by 35%. So if you are using Red Rush and you want them to be more supportive than offensive, then definitely level up the 4th ability. I mean, even if you just want to level up all of his abilities, then that's fine, but definitely the 4th if you're wanting to lean more into a supportive role and not level up maybe the others. But if you want to lean more into an attackive role, if you actually increase the 2nd ability, it goes up to a 45% critical damage increase. Now this is massive, especially for heroes who attackers on your team who rely on getting critical hits. For example, Universa, for example, Omniman. 45% increase is massive, and especially this, like, I've seen this in teams with Universa, and it just absolutely obliterates anything in its path. So if you're using, especially attackers who rely on critical hits, but any, if you want them to be more strong, your team to be stronger in terms of attacking power, this is actually a massive increase, and this is very, very good to upgrade. The first one as well, upgrading it means that he obviously deals more damage. The silence is increased, and it's increased to every 15 seconds. Stays at every 15 seconds. So this is good to level up. The damage is alright. It isn't really the main thing. His main thing is that he's actually taking them out of the fight, and that cooldown stays the same at 2.5 seconds. So this is good to upgrade. It's maybe not the most game-changing as the 2nd or 4th ability. The 3rd ability, however, is obviously when you increase it, it means that at the beginning of the battle and every 15 seconds, he stops his position with the furthest ally, stunning them for 4 seconds, and again, still reducing their physical resistance by 90%. Now, this is also a very good one to upgrade. So if you are upgrading Red Rush, definitely 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, maybe 1st. But the 3rd ability here, because the stun is for 4 seconds, it basically takes them out of the fight. They can't do anything, and because he is often with his own team, it means that anyone else on your team will turn on them, and because he decreases their physical resistance by 90%, it means they are much weaker and they are stunned for 4 seconds, so they can't even fight back. So this is, again, a very, very powerful ability, and Red Rush is definitely becoming one of the best offensive supports in the game. Not healers, but definitely offensive supports. So yeah, that is what I would say about Red Rush. And yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. We got through a decent amount. There is still obviously quite a few heroes, especially the new Shapesmith to go through, so I'll be doing some more videos on them going forward. But yeah, if you did like the video, and obviously if some of the heroes that you're using were mentioned here, then and if you did enjoy, then please like the video. It does help me out a lot. Leave a comment down below on any of the heroes I covered today, or any of the heroes coming up, with what abilities you think are the best upgrade. And if you would like to see more going forward, then please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot and means that you get to see the content coming out. Again, apologies for the gap in uploading. I've been very busy with a lot of work stuff and had a few technical issues as well. So yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Cheers, and see you in the next one.